welcome to an unboxing from theplayersaid.com. I'm Grant. I haven't been doing many of our unboxings lately. Alexander's kind of taken over those duties. One, he has a better accent than me, and two, he has all the video processing equipment. So I was excited. I received this game today, Gandhi, the Decolonization of British India, from GMT Games, and I couldn't wait. I didn't want to wait. We're not going to see each other, I think, until Friday evening, and I just couldn't wait. So I wanted to go ahead and unbox this because I want to rifle through it. I also want to read over the Arjuna solitaire bot system, which is a little bit different than some in the past. I'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm very excited about this game. It's Volume 9 in the Coin series. We all know the Coin series. My only problem with the Coin series is there's too many good volumes. I actually own 8 out of the 9 volumes now. The only one I don't own is Cuba Libre. Alexander owns that. That's why I haven't had really a need to go ahead and get it. But I do need to go ahead and get a copy of that. I am a completionist, after all, as a collector. I went ahead and turned my light off because it was given a really bad glare on the box top. So I went ahead and turned it off. So I hope you guys, hope it isn't too dark for you. But I'm going to go ahead and get into this. But once again, Gandhi, Volume 9 in the Coin series. The designer is Bruce Mansfield. If you didn't know, on our blog, I've actually posted 2 designer interviews with Bruce. One we did, my gosh, it was 2 years ago, shortly after the game was announced on the P500. And then we just about 3 weeks ago did a follow-up interview with him, kind of asking what his experience was like. Was he, does he feel the same about the game and the product? What changed? What happened throughout the design process that he didn't expect? That kind of thing. So if you want to check those out, go ahead and get on the written blog, theplayersaid.com, and you can go ahead and read those. But I'll go ahead and get it open. But you can see this is a beautiful cover. Very well done. Really enjoy the art. I think it's one of the best looking covers so far, but that's just my opinion. Comes in a 3-inch box. Really nice components, well made by GMT. And as you can imagine, this is really their flagship series anymore. They work very hard to not only get good subjects and good games, but to make them high quality. First thing you see are very, very thick rule books and a playbook. We'll talk about the playbook here in a moment. Rulebook's pretty standard. It's non-glossy, but it's pretty detailed. If you know the Coin series of games, you're not going to have problems jumping into this game. There are a few changes. There is a non-violent faction now, led by Gandhi. He is the only leader cylinder in the game. So it's pretty much the same, but it does have elements that are different. There are 4 factions. It is designed for 1 to 4 players, and you can use Arjuna to either do a solo play with you controlling one faction and the other 3 controlled by the bot, or you can mix and match probably the way Alexander and I will play it. We'll play a 2-player game with 2 bots, or we'll just play a 2-player game and control 2 factions. But the rule book, well done. Actually, I really like the graphic illustrations here, the examples. I think they've included a lot of those in there, and I feel like it's getting dark. So I think I'm going to go ahead and turn the light back on, so give me just 2 seconds. Oh, wrong light. There we go. We've already seen the cover. No glare. There we go. That's better. My old eyes can see. But this is the rule book. It's a fairly thick rule book at 48 pages. But once again, there's a lot of graphic examples. There's also a bibliography there in the back. I love that about GMT Games. They really care about the history of the conflict, and they've provided a lot of information there. There are several scenarios. There's a short scenario. And you got a setup chart there. You've got a main scenario. And then you've got the very final scenario. Oop, maybe there's only 2. I said there were 3, maybe there are only 2. But yeah, there's a short and a main, it looks like. So there you go. But good rule book, well done as usual. And then you look at the playbook. That's an iconic picture of Gandhi and his loom. Definitely a good, but this is the playbook. And if you notice, you'll look here at the table of contents. It has a tutorial. So for those that simply have an interest in this topic, don't be afraid or turned away by learning a new game. They have a great tutorial, and you can see it's about 20 pages. It gives some non-player examples of play, so the bots. It talks about the factions and how they interact. A guide to the faction operations, which are your main actions that you can take. Event text and note. This is a card-assisted game, so there's a lot of cards. And the designer notes, which represents about, looks like about, only a few pages with some notes from developers, historical notes, and then the myths of nonviolence. So this is a pretty interesting resource. Not only is it going to help you understand the game and how it plays, but it's going to show you some of the historical information, and that's cool. GMT always does a great job with these. So there's the rule book and the playbook. Here we only have one sheet of counters, and it's actually, frankly, a half sheet. There's a lot of open, unused counters here. But you can see these are for support and opposition, which typically in coin games, that is tracked, and that will be tied to at least one or two of the factions. Victory conditions, there's an overflow marker. There are some protests in the game, so if you know much about the coin series, they do a lot of, in the past, the insurgents have done a lot of things like assassinations or terror. There is still that in this game. The Muslim side, let me flip that over to make sure. The Muslim state, I believe, still has some of that in their way of insurgency. But the nonviolent faction, as the name denotes, won't attack. They do protests. They can get arrested. The Raj or the government can come in and arrest them and get them out. So yeah, kind of interesting. I said the Raj was the government. The British are the government, but the Raj are the supporters of the government and the old caste system. But you can see great markers. They are pre-rounded. These are pre-rounded. These you're going to have to clip. So about half the counters you're going to have to clip. I enjoy clipping counters, so it's not a big deal for me. If you flip them over, you'll notice these are very high quality counters. You can see there's a strike token. So somebody's going to strike. There's some of the Muslim state control markers. Very nice. And that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot of counters there, but that's okay. There's the British control markers. And then you've got things, these mark the victory, how close to victory they are for the different factions, and you can see that. So there's the counters. Then there are quite a few charts. These are actually the bifold orders or operations and special activities for the different factions. There are 4 of those. I'll only show you one. You can see the British Raj here and all of their menu of actions and choices. And frankly, that's the thing about the coin series that is probably the most difficult to pick up, is what should I be doing? Understanding your victory conditions, also understanding the victory conditions of your enemy is important, because you need to understand how to control that and affect that as well. But there's the British Raj. Here's the Indian National Congress, the Muslim League, and the Revolutionaries. So pretty cool. But that's a look at those, once again, menu of special activities and operations. Then you've got, differently than a flow chart or a list of actions that the bot is going to take, they've given you a non-player aid. And then I think there is a deck, which we'll go over. Sorry, I bumped the... There's a reason Alexander does these unboxings. He's a little more skilled at it than I am. But here you get an example, I think, in this deck of some of the cards that are used for Arjuna. About 12 or 15 maybe in that deck. We'll open those here in a minute. But once again, this is a card that will show you how to do things if you're playing the bot for any of these. It'll give you ideas and things that they're going to take, move priorities, for the different factions, very well laid out. I'm very excited to try this. And then there's the old random spaces. If you've played the other coin bots, a lot of times they'll have, it'll say randomly roll a couple of dice, and then you'll consult this and to determine what actions are being taken in certain areas. Arjuna is pretty unpredictable. It was something I had read by Scott, but they put it together so it works well. I think it's fairly easy to use and will add something to your experience and allow you to play this solo. So here is the sequence of play, just in general. It'll talk about the way the campaign card works. So if you remember, there'll be, the scenario will set it out, but it'll say anywhere from 6 to 8 or 10 cards in between each of these campaign cards. The campaign cards will be where a victory check is triggered, and if someone has met their conditions at that time, they will claim victory. If not, you'll just go through this process, getting support, getting your resources, redeploying or removing troops or pieces around the board, and then resetting everybody to eligible, setting up the next set of cards, and then moving forward. So these are pretty helpful. Here's also a campaign round non-player instruction chart. So with the non-players, this is the solo, this is how they're going to do their campaign round. So there's the aids that are included. Let's go ahead and look at the board. It's in a bag. They always put these in a bag. And this is a mounted map board. The maps are always very nice with the coin games. Both nice looking, and they are well made. I have not had a problem with my coin boards, neither in warping nor breaking. And this is a nice looking map. Let's go ahead and lay it out, and I'll have to pan and try to zoom in for you a little bit. So here you're looking at the bottom of the map. Here's some of the boxes where you're holding the Raj, the British Raj, the revolutionaries. Up at the top, as we kind of go along the subcontinent of India, you can see up here in the left are the Muslim League available forces. In the right is the National Congress available forces. There is an out of play, which I believe is the prison or jail, and that's included in the rules. The other interesting part about this is the state of India. As things are affected in there, certain actions will cost more. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's another cool element. You've got your scoring track around the board, very beautiful. Love the colors, love the color palette. I think the map is very clear. This isn't a large map. You can look, I would say this is more similar to the size of, say, well, it's a little bigger than Cuba Libre. I think Cuba Libre had like 10 spaces. This one looks like it has, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, plus 5 different cities. So that's a lot more than Cuba Libre. But say a game like Fire in the Lake has, actually they may have almost the same amount. I'll have to do a little research on that. But really great looking map, very functional. Here is the sequence of play down here in this bottom right corner. If you don't know how this works, everyone's going to be eligible. When the cards come up, they're going to tell you who has the option to take the card or actions first. They're then going to go one of these 2 boxes, and then that decides what the next player can do. Sometimes it limits your actions. Sometimes it limits your access to events. And you have to sometimes play cat and mouse, particularly if you're either protecting a lead or trying to build a lead, and you don't want your opponent to be able to do everything that they want to do. So that's the sequence of play. Here's the campaign card track. We're going to follow this and do all the actions. But yeah, really great looking game, as would be expected from me, from GMT. They do such a great job. Let's go ahead and look at just one of the things of event cards. I'll go ahead. I have to use my teeth. I think I've said this before in videos, but my mother's not here, or she would be mad at me for using my teeth. But great looking cards. There you can get a look on the card art on the back. But you flip those over, And there's a look at the cards that are going to ultimately drive the action. Remember, I talked about who is eligible to go first. So with that sequence of play that's right here, this says the British Raj is going first. This then says the National Congress, the Muslims, and the Revolutionaries. So that's how that's going to happen. So basically the Raj and the National Congress would have the options of going first. You can pass to gain resources and then make yourself eligible. And then the events usually are dual events. So one side is for one or two of the factions, and then the other one is for the other side. And you'll need to become very aware of these. These are card assisted. This is a card assisted game, not a card driven game. So, and you'll also know notice there's numbers, 24 there. That will coincide with the playbook where they listed all the different cards and they tried to give you a little bit of the history. So there's a look at the cards, very pretty, also very functional. Let me go ahead and open up this other deck of cards because I think it has, once again, Arjuna. It has some of its cards, and I want to get a look at those, and two, I wanted to show those to you. And I've read a couple of interviews, but I'm not exactly sure how this works, so I'm not going to try to give you. But you can see there's cards for each of the four different factions. They're color coded. They have their symbols in the upper left. I think these cards are going to help you determine what actions are taken. So there's kind of a flow chart when you pull this. This one says any unrest or revolutionary bases without guerrillas. If you say yes, die roll is less than or equal to available guerrillas. You're going to roll a die. If that's the case, yes, you'll go down. You're going to rally. You're going to build some bases, place some more guerrillas. And then it says you can specially select also a special activity. So you can see that if the answer is no at any time, I'm not sure what these symbols, that might mean take the event. And that one might mean, not sure, pass, I'm not sure. But you can see there's a whole bunch of instructions. So this is going to be interesting. Basically what this is, they took an entire 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and they condensed it down into 6 or 8 cards. 1, 2, 3. There are 6 cards for each faction. They are double-sided, so there are 12 cards. I need to read up on this and understand, but you can see that's kind of a unique and new or revolutionary idea for this system or series. I think that's a great idea, and I'm very interested in trying it out. Alexander and I have done some of the bots for the others, and I think they're fine. They just take some getting used to. We played Fire in the Lake a couple of weeks ago, and we probably played for 4 or 5 hours, and at least 2 hours of that was kind of manipulating the solitaire bots order of actions. Here is a bag of wood. The coin games use wood cubes and cylinders and discs as well to show control, to show forces, and they're very, very nice. I'll show you the embossing on them. They always do such a great job. So here is a cylinder. Whoops. Well, I dropped a piece. Alexander gets mad when I drop pieces. But here is the Revolutionaries cylinder. This is this is the one that's going to be used to show whether they're available or eligible or not. There's the British Raj. You've also got these little cylinders. These are your insurgent units. So this, because this is the National Congress or Gandhi's faction, these are going to be what you use to do protests and other non-violent actions. Here you've also got a green one, which is the Muslim League. So you can see I love these embossed wood cylinders and discs. Here's a control marker or a base. I'm sorry, it's a base. That's a Revolutionary's base. And then you've got, here you can see in my hand, red, white. There's also, I'm trying to look at the other colors, red and white cubes, and then there's cylinders for the other side. So that's kind of a look at the wood. Very well done, well made. They always do a good job with those. And then you have dice. So you're going to use these dice typically for the random choices. Sometimes action cards or event cards will say roll a die, and if you get a 1 to 3, you do this, or et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes in other games, the battle mechanic or fighting mechanic, ambush, raid, whatever, you would roll a die and get under a certain amount based on the number of guerrilla units you have hidden there. So there's a look at those dice. I really like the colors. So that is actually everything in the box. Great looking game, no doubt about that. I'm excited. I'm excited to get this to the table. Once again, I'm really doing this unboxing because I want to go ahead and crack this open and start getting a head start on it. We have Origins this weekend, so we won't be able to do this or play this. We also have the Dark Valley, Dark Sands, and we want to play the last 100 yards. So this one may take us a couple of weeks. So be patient. What I might do is try to do a solo game at home. I might also take some pictures and tweet them out just to show you what's there. But I'm excited about this game. I can't wait to get it to the table. Can't wait to play it. Love the coin series, and this is number 9, volume number 9. There are 2 other volumes currently that are out and nearing the end of design. All Bridges Burning, which is the Finnish Civil War, and then you have People Power, which is the Filipino insurgencies and the Marcos Xu regime, etc. So there's 2 great games to look forward to. I'm excited about both of those, knowing that there will be 11 volumes of coin games, and I am sure that there's going to be a new coin game announced soon. I've seen pictures of a serious 6-player coin game. I've seen pictures of I want to say it's Canadian Revolution game. I've seen an American near futuristic revolutionary game, so it's not based on a historical insurrection, but a future what-if insurrection. I also know that Brian Train has been working on his Thunder out of China, I think for a couple of years. My guess is maybe that gets announced soon or soonish. We'll see. We'll just have to see. Well, I've been Grant for the Player's Aid. I appreciate you following along as I do this very weak and unorthodox unboxing. Alexander's frankly better at it than me, but I got the games. I wanted to do it so that I could look through the game and possibly even get them to the table to play a solo game. So, haha, Alexander, I beat you to it. Take that. All right, well, if you have any questions, let me know, or comments. We love you guys. Love the fact that you watch our stuff. Alexander and I talk often about we can't believe that we've had the success that we've had with YouTube, over 5,300 subscribers now. And I've said this a couple of times, I did not want to do YouTube. I just didn't want to do videos because I like to write. I like to convey information in that format. And now I feel like we're splitting it, doing videos and written material, and I think it's good, but I didn't want to do it. So thanks to Alexander. All right, I've been Grant for the Player's Aid. Thank you.